Everyone, it's Yuto from SachiRecipes.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make a matcha roll cake with vanilla cream and fresh strawberries. This cake is extremely soft and light, it's perfect for any occasion. Start by heating your oven to 160 degrees Celsius or 320 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm also going to line my pan with baking paper. This is 22 by 26 centimeters, which is about 8.5 by 10 inches. Break off a piece of baking paper a bit bigger than the pan. I'm gonna use the base as a guide and just fold the edges over like this. I also like to make incisions in the corners to help it sit better. Okay, that's all done, so let's get on with making the cake. First, take 3 bowls and 3 eggs. These eggs are straight out of the fridge, and I'm gonna start by separating the yolks and the whites. Cold eggs separate more easily. The reason I use an extra bowl is so that if I accidentally break a yolk, I'm not gonna contaminate the whites. I'll be using the whites to make meringue later, so it's important that nothing drops in there. Once that's done, we'll prepare the other ingredients while we wait for the eggs to warm to room temperature. So next I have a bowl and a sifter. I'm adding 2 tablespoons of cake flour, 2.5 tablespoons of strong flour, and 1 tablespoon of matcha green tea powder. It's important to sift the dry ingredients to break up any lumps. It also helps make the cake airy and light. Mix them with a whisk to make sure the matcha is well incorporated in the flour. Next, take a microwavable bowl and add 4 teaspoons of vegetable oil, 2 tablespoons of whole milk, and 1 teaspoon of honey. Microwave it for 20 seconds at 600 watts. We just want to warm it up, but not so much that it cooks the egg yolks. Whisk it well and then add the egg yolks. Whisk them until everything is well combined. Finally, we can add the dry ingredients. I know we sifted them earlier, but by sifting them again, we make sure there are no lumps. Whisk it until it's smooth. The mixture will be quite thick, like this. Okay, let's set this aside for later. It's now time to make the meringue. The egg whites should be close to room temperature by now, which should make them easier to whip. Use an electric whisk and whip the egg whites. Be careful not to go any higher than medium speed. Using lower speed takes a bit longer, but it makes smaller air bubbles that are more stable and less likely to deflate. Once the egg whites have turned white and foamy, we're gonna add some white sugar. I'm using 60 grams of sugar in total, but I'm adding it gradually, so start with about a third. Once it's mixed in, you can gradually add the rest. We're aiming for somewhere between firm peaks and stiff peaks, which means when we pull the whisk out, the meringue points up without folding over. This looks good to me. Next, we're going to mix some of this meringue into the matcha batter. Because the batter is so thick, we need to thin it out a bit, so I'm gonna use a whisk to combine them. Once they're incorporated, check the thickness of the batter. If it still looks too thick, add more meringue. We'll keep going until it's loose enough to fold into the rest of the meringue. Okay, this looks good. If you look at the way the batter folds, it's a lot thinner than before. Now we can pour that into the meringue and fold it in using a spatula. It's important to be gentle here so that you don't lose the air that we whipped in. Turn the bowl as you fold it in and stop as soon as you can't see any more white bits of meringue. When it's evenly mixed, we're gonna pour it into the baking pan. Pour it into the middle and then smooth it out as best you can. Make sure you get it into the corners. Okay, drop it on the counter to pop any big bubbles in the batter and then place it in the oven on the middle shelf. We're gonna let that bake for 15 to 20 minutes or until it starts to turn brown. I recommend checking on it after about 12 minutes and take it out as soon as it starts to change color. Oven times and temperatures vary, but it's really important not to overbake roll cake, otherwise it becomes difficult to roll and might break. Okay, this has been baking for 15 minutes exactly and looks done. So drop it on the counter to stop it from shrinking and then transfer it to a wire rack. Peel the edges of the paper and cover it in plastic wrap. This will stop it from drying out while it's cooling. We're gonna let that cool for about 10 to 15 minutes. In the meantime, let's make the cream. First, I've got a glass bowl here and I've been chilling it in the freezer for about 5 to 10 minutes. I usually do this when I put the cake in the oven so that it's nice and cold when I start making the cream. Add 150 milliliters of double cream, 4 teaspoons of white sugar and half a teaspoon of vanilla essence. Whip that cream until it becomes firm. It needs to be firm enough that it holds its shape in the roll cake, but you also need to be careful not to over whip it. If you mix too much, it will start to turn to butter. If you want a stronger matcha flavor, you could also add 1 or 2 teaspoons of matcha powder to the cream at the beginning, but I like how the white cream looks with the matcha cake. Vanilla and matcha go together very well as well. Okay, this looks good to me. Let's assemble the cake. First, we're gonna flip it over and replace the baking paper with a new piece. This just makes it easier to roll and keeps the surface smooth. Next, we will flip it back over and peel off the plastic wrap. You'll probably find some bits peel off, but that's okay because this is going to be on the inside anyway. I like to cut the edges at an angle like this. I find it makes a neater finish. The cake is still a bit warm, but it's not hot at all. It's easier to roll when it's warm, it's more flexible and less likely to break. dollop the cream into the middle and then spread it evenly over the cake. Thin it out on the edges so that cream doesn't burst out too much when you roll it. I've also got some strawberries. I washed about 4 medium strawberries and dried them with a paper towel to make sure that water doesn't get into the cream. I cut them into thin slices. I actually recommend cutting them a bit smaller than this so it's easier to roll. I leave one edge clear of strawberries because they tend to move and come out when you roll it. Use the baking paper to help you lift one side and carefully fold it over. Keep pulling the baking paper to help roll it all the way and pull it tight to secure the rolled shape. You can then wrap it in plastic wrap to hold it together. I'm gonna place this in an airtight container and put it in the fridge for 1 or 2 hours. The texture of the sponge is going to improve and the cream is going to stabilize. Okay, an hour has passed. Let's try our roll cake. First, carve the ends. You can eat these as a taster before serving. I'm then going to dust it with some matcha powder. You could decorate it with extra cream, strawberries or powdered sugar if you like. And there you have it, delicious matcha roll cake with vanilla cream and fresh strawberries. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this recipe, check out some of my other Japanese desserts and subscribe to my channel for more tasty recipes. Have a great day and hope to see you next time.